Welcome back to Studio Chatter. Thank you, Morgan, for staying with us for this very important discussion.
You're welcome.
Morgan, we could really talk about this forever, but let's dive into this segment and tell us how we can protect our loved ones and family.
Okay, so the first thing you can do, like I said, is talk to your family members or your community about this issue. You can talk to, your children and just have a one-on-one about internet safety. And also, that was the third one. Was,
good. See, I told you we would come back to
broken families. So make sure that if you, are struggling with your family, that you get the help that you need instead of keeping on dividing, try to get counseling and things like that, because runaways are a big target. And so, just try to do that. You can also, I speak at the library sometimes. You can become a volunteer. Just becoming aware and getting trained is that's probably the number one.
Yeah, I think just initiating that conversation so that your children and your family know that it's out there. And then maybe they're more apt to say, hey, I've seen this, or someone has. But I think if we don't talk about it, then we're not being able to educate and keep that line open, I guess. But who are our predators, like with our children per se, in our community?
It's so hard to know. It's men and women, and there's kid-on-kid problems. I mean, it could be anybody. There's
everywhere.
not a standard.
So it could be a friend in the high school.
Yeah.
But it also could be someone on Snapchat.
Yeah, it could be
a teacher, an uncle,
a teacher,
a brother,
a janitor, a doctor. I mean, there's no you can't just say
goodness.
they're old, grouchy old men. There's women, there's men. They all, there's no certain profile.
How far is your reach? I mean, so you talked about the 11-year-old that you helped rescue, and it was like the number was enormous. I think you had said 4,000 or something. So when you're talking about that 11-year-old out of those 4,000, so you're close to us. Is that are you talking like in the U.S.? Or are you talking, what are you talking, like regionally?
All over,
Okay, okay.
So like Utah, I think we've rescued over 400 and helped assist in arrest of 304.
Okay.
But overall, I mean, there's 30 million people trapped in human trafficking today. And
30 million.
Yeah, and it's hard to even know how much.
It's just sickening.
That's
and then there's
really
2 million of those, which that number is certainly growing, especially with COVID. It could be double that now, just in child sex trafficking. So then you've got your other areas of labor and organ harvesting and things like that.
Are there different problems in different regions worldwide? Because you say that, and the movie Lion comes to mind. So I'm thinking of India and some where maybe little boys could be a bigger problem than maybe girls, or maybe
for labor especially.
Sex even.
Well,
and even maybe where electronics or devices are easier, are more accessible, or labor might be a bigger need than in other places in the world.
Yeah, what is our community's biggest problem?
So I can tell you that the United States is the #1 consumer of sex trafficking.
That doesn't surprise me.
So now we're up, I think, to #3 of actually people wanting to come to our country to buy children. It's a really huge problem because we can go to Thailand and buy a boy for a night, and you can go to wherever, Africa or wherever you want to go, and you can buy a child, and you go home to your family and nobody knows what you did on your business trip, And so it's happening all over the United States. A lot of people think this is just a foreign problem, but it's really not. It's happening everywhere. And I mean, some cultures will have their own, and then within those cultures they'll have their own fetishes and things like that. But it's rampant across the globe.
And I just, for a moment, I just caught a glimpse like into your like heart or soul, and to see the images or to be helping the person, how that must be so hard on your heart and your soul to be able to be that person for someone else and to see all the images and do all that. So I can't imagine like OUR and the law officers and the people that are helping, how hard that is on them as well to be able to be coping with those things.
Thankfully, I don't have to see those. But Tim Ballard, the man who is the founder of Operation Underground Railroad, that's what happened. Was he did a operation down on the Calexico border, and it was like 12 miles away from his home, and he busted this guy, and there was a 5-year-old boy there, and the little boy was in his arms and said, "I don't belong here." And that day, Tim was like, he said he got home and he was like so struck with just emotion that he just collapsed. And his wife thought that he was having a heart attack, and he's just like, I either have to be all in or all out. And that's something, I know it's hard, this is a really tough subject, and it's really hard, but think about the children living it. I mean, it's hard for us to think about, but they're like doing this 20 times a day. I mean, it's like, we have to think about this. They can't rally on the streets. They can't petition the police.
Right.
You know, we have to be their voice.
Yeah.
So what can we do?
Yes.
What are some things, I mean, you've talked about volunteering. Just hop on OUR's website and probably click on volunteer and look. Money donations, I think I remember seeing that you can make a one-time donation or a monthly $5, $20, $100 a month donation.
Yep. So that's our abolitionist club, and you just go on to ourrescue.org, and then you can do those. And it's really important to actually keep funding OUR, because they don't just rescue the survivor and leave them, and then the perpetrators go free. They do all the way through from the beginning to end. They vet aftercare facilities to help these children. And so one operation can be thousands and thousands of dollars, but down to the stats, I guess, if you want to say, it's about $2,000 to save one child. So we really need help with that. But there's other things you can do. Awareness is huge. Volunteering, donating, and people ask Tim, they'll say, what can we do? What is the thing? If you just think about it yourself, you can figure out what your talents are. Because I have my cousin, she donates a tiny portion of her little teeny crochet business to OUR. You know, you can do fundraising events, just things like that.
These guys know how I love to read, but I learned a lot about Tim several years ago when our book club read Slave Stealers. I want to give a shout out to that book, because it parallels human trafficking, the story of today versus slavery hundreds of years ago, and that those are so similar. And he's written several other books, but great insight if you're a reader to pick up one of Tim Ballard's books.
And there's a Slave Stealer podcast.
Oh, I did not know that.
I don't know if they're still updating it, but there's several good episodes on there.
Okay.
I love that podcast.
Okay.
This has opened our eyes, and my heart just like hurts just thinking about that. So we need to take some action.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
I
real.
feel like so I used to cry about it a lot, like those years that I didn't really do much. Maybe I'd donate somewhere if I saw something. But for me, the more that I help, the less helpless I feel. Like, I don't cry as much. I still do, but I'm like, you know what? I'm doing something. So
I would agree.
Oh, thank you.
Yep,
Thanks for being here and sharing all of this with us, and we'll do our best to promote on our social media and bring awareness and give some good insight for our viewers to do what they can do.
To at least initiate some talk.
Yeah.
And even if it's
awareness.
just awareness, if that's all you can do is just bring awareness into your own life and family, then
That's a start.
Keep up the great work. Thanks so much.
thanks. I'm happy to be here.
There's more studio chatter coming up.